Guys, I hate to offend anybody with this video. I would love to see some pre-Zyu adaptations, rather it be by Hasbro or the main company. But there are only really three that I want to see in all honesty. Do not be offended if I don't include some of the suits that were used in Megaforce. I just don't have any interest in seeing those suits adapted and or used. I think it would be cool to try to tie them up in the comics, but do I want to see them on a big screen? No, but that's just my opinion, you guys. So, don't take it to heart. But I would love to see a Die Ranger adaptation in some shape and form, just because of the Die Ranger footage that was used in MPR season 2. I would just love to see those suits used. I always loved the way those suits look. I always loved the martial arts that was used in that show. I love the theme song for Die Ranger. I love the story in that show, and I would just love to see somebody to just take those suits and adapt it and do something with that footage. I think it would be cool. And you also could just tie it in to Mighty Morphin. Hell, we could even have a story that could be about the first White Ranger. Like, how the hell did Sordon even come across these powers? You could explain that. I just feel like you can do so much with a Die Ranger adaptation. Hell, you can even explain where the Thunder Swords came from. Hell, you can even do a story with Serpent Terror, because the counterpart for Serpent Terror is in Die Ranger. It's so many things that you can do with this show that would add to the lore of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers without having to use the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And also, I would just love to see a lot of the martial arts scenes in Die Ranger presented in front of an American audience. So I definitely would want to see the Die Ranger get some adaptation, rather a fan does it or rather the big companies do it. If a fan does it as a web series on YouTube, cool. If the bigger companies decide they want to pick it up and turn this into a Netflix series, cool. Die Ranger has a lot of footage that was used in Mighty Morphin Season 2, as I said. There are limitless possibilities of what you could do with this show. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Die Ranger. Alright, let's get to Jetman. Jetman is one of my favorite Sentais. It's definitely hovering around my top 5. I would love to see a fan take a stab at it and try to adapt it, or I would love to see the bigger company take a jab at it and try to do something with it. I love the theme of Jetman that revolves around birds and aerial vehicles. I would just love to see it brought into an American audience. I'm very intrigued by what somebody could possibly do with it. I would love to see some of the great stories of this show adapted, brought over, and possibly adding more, adding a new spin to them. I love the suit designs. I love the sword designs. I love everything about Jetman. It is definitely one of those I would want to see a fan adapt or a bigger company adapt it to a Netflix series. Like I said, that's pretty much all I have to say about Jetman. Let's move to our last season. Now, I know a lot of people may give me crap for this one, but I do love the aesthetics of this show. And I do think that this show would work better as an adaptation for the tone they were trying to set. And the show is Turbo Ranger. I am a person in this community that is a fan of cars, and I honestly want to see the car theme season done better. And a lot of people are going to come to me talking about RPM and Lightspeed Rescue. Yes, they had cars in them, but their main theme wasn't cars. Lightspeed Rescues was like a rescue team, and RPM focused more on the apocalyptic aspect and the machines taking over the world aspect than cars. Turbo, in my opinion, really honed in on its theme, but it was such a bad show. I would just love somebody to take Turbo Ranger and use the footage and adapt it into something that could be good. I just want a good car themed season. I like the swords in this show. I like the way the suits look in this show. I don't like the show when we're talking about story and things, but I don't think that would matter if somebody else were to take it and adapt it. We've seen bad shows get really good adaptations on both sides of the field when it comes to PR and Sentai. I would love to see Turbo Ranger adapted. And plus, you can also use this show to explain the lore in Power Rangers Turbo. Like, you can actually explain where the swords and weapons were inspired by in Power Rangers Turbo. Huh? Ha ha ha. Yeah, I know a lot of y'all may not like Turbo, but I'm just saying this is another opportunity to help make the lore in Power Rangers Turbo a bit better because Car Ranger and Turbo Ranger have two different tones, but they do have similar premises with magical beings coming down, granting them with the power of cars and vehicles and things like that. So I would actually love to see just the lore of Turbo explored even more in this show. You could do that if you wanted to. And you can also explain to us why the hell the turbo powers were so much more powerful than the seal powers. You could possibly tweak this footage or just use this footage to explain a lot of things for Turbo. Because, like I said, Turbo Ranger and Car Rangers, they're different in tone, but they do have a similar premise. And you can definitely help explain why things were the way they were in PR Turbo. Because this could be the team and the swords in the suits that expired the creation of the turbo powers. That's all I have to say about that. Like I said, I just want a car themed season, and I understand there have been shows that have had cars, but their central focus wasn't cars like Power Rangers Turbo, as I just said. Well, that's all I have to talk about today, guys. I'm sorry if I did not say any of the series that you're interested in or probably wanted me to talk about. I'm not saying that I don't like those series. I just personally don't have an interest in seeing them adapted, but that's just my opinion. My opinion is not the gospel, like I said, so don't take it to heart. Don't think I don't like some of those other Pre-Zyu shows. I just don't have any desire to want to see them adapted. And that's just one man's opinion. I'm sure there are other creators out there that have come up with storylines for some of those shows I didn't talk about. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. You guys keep supporting me. PR Digital Beast will be coming out soon. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.